The leak scenes from The Chosen Season 6 are so devastating that even the cast broke down crying while filming them. And after watching everything, I genuinely don't know how any of us are going to get through this season without completely falling apart. That I have been following The Chosen since the very beginning. I watched every single episode, every behind-the-scenes moment, every cast interview, and every update that came out. And I can honestly say that nothing, absolutely nothing, has hit me the way these leaked Season 6 scenes have. Because this is not just another season. This is the season where everything we have been building toward for 5 years finally arrives. This is the season where we are going to watch Jesus walk through the darkest and most painful hours of his entire life on earth. And the leaked scenes that have been coming out are already making people emotional before the season has even released. So today, I want to sit down with you and go through everything we know, everything that has been leaked, and everything that is coming, so that we can face this season together. Let me start from the very beginning of what Season 6 is going to show us. The season picks up exactly where Season 5 ended. Jesus has just been arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane. That moment alone, the moment the soldiers put their hands on him, is already being described by people who have seen early footage as one of the most gut-wrenching scenes the show has ever produced. Because by this point in the series, we know Jesus so deeply. We have walked with him through years of ministry. We have seen him laugh, cry, teach, heal, and love the people around him with everything he has. And now watching those same hands that healed the sick and raised the dead being bound by soldiers, it does something to you emotionally that is very difficult to put into words. After the arrest, Jesus is first brought before Annas for questioning. And this is where the leak scenes start getting truly difficult to watch. Annas does not approach this as a fair trial. From the very first second, his entire goal is to find a way to make Jesus look guilty. He begins interrogating Jesus about his teachings, demanding to know what he has been telling people, and why. And the way Jesus responds in these leak scenes is something that stopped me completely. He answers Annas with calm and total clarity, essentially saying that he has always spoken openly, that he has never hidden anything, and that if Annas truly wants to know what he taught, he should ask the people who heard him. It is a powerful and completely composed response. And it is the kind of answer that only someone who is absolutely sure of who they are and what they stand for could give in that moment. But Annas does not accept this. Instead, he doubles down. He starts accusing Jesus of lying and of stirring up violence among the people. And here is where one of the most heartbreaking moments in the leaked footage happens. One of the guards standing nearby, apparently angered by the way Jesus is responding, steps forward and slaps him across the face. I want you to really sit with that for a second. This is Jesus. And he is being slapped in the face in front of a room full of people who are supposed to be religious leaders. The injustice of that moment is almost impossible to watch. But what makes it even more powerful is what Jesus does next. He does not flinch. He does not lose his composure. He simply turns and faces the guard with complete steadiness, essentially showing everyone in that room that no amount of physical pain or humiliation is going to shake him from who he is and what he came to do. Jonathan Rumi's performance in these scenes has already been described by people who have seen them as some of the most incredible acting the show has ever had. And honestly, after watching the clips that have leaked, I completely agree. The way he carries Jesus through these moments, with so much patience and dignity and quiet strength, is genuinely breathtaking. You can see in his eyes that Jesus feels the pain, that he understands the injustice of everything that is happening to him, and yet he stands completely firm. It is the kind of performance that makes you forget you are watching a television show. It makes you feel like you are actually standing in that room watching it happen in real time. And that feeling, that deeply personal and emotional connection, is exactly what makes these leaked scenes so incredibly difficult and so incredibly powerful at the same time. While Jesus is being questioned by Annas, something else is happening at the same time that is equally heartbreaking in a completely different way. Simon Peter is waiting outside in the courtyard. And as he stands there, people begin to recognize him. They start asking him if he is one of Jesus' disciples. And in these leak scenes, we are going to watch Peter do the thing that has haunted readers of the Bible for centuries. He denies Jesus. Not once, but repeatedly. He stands there in that courtyard, just a short distance away from a man he once said he would die for, and he tells the people around him that he does not know him, that he is not one of his followers, that he has nothing to do with him. Now I want you to think about how much weight that carries within the context of this show specifically. Because in The Chosen, we have spent years watching Peter. We have seen his personality, his passion, his loyalty, his impulsiveness, and his deep and genuine love for Jesus. We have watched the moment Jesus first called him. We have watched him walk on water. We have watched him declare with complete confidence that Jesus is the Messiah. And now we're going to watch him stand in a cold courtyard and pretend that none of that ever happened. The writers and directors of this show have built Peter's character so carefully and so deeply over 5 seasons that when this moment finally arrives on screen, it is not going to feel like a Bible story. It is going to feel like watching someone you know personally make the worst mistake of their life in their most terrifying moment of weakness. And then comes the moment that completely breaks everything open. Jesus, at some point during everything that is happening, sees Peter. We do not know exactly how the show is going to frame this moment visually, but based on everything that has been described from the leak scenes, it is going to be absolutely devastating. Because the second Peter realizes that Jesus has seen him, everything falls apart. All the denial, all the self-protection, all the fear that was driving him in that moment, it all collapses under the weight of that one look. And Peter goes outside and weeps. Not just cries. He weeps. And I genuinely believe that this is going to be one of the most emotional scenes this entire show has ever produced. Because it is not just about Peter's guilt. It is about what it feels like when you realize you have failed someone who loved you completely and unconditionally, and who is already suffering more than you can even imagine. After the interrogation with Annas concludes, Jesus is then taken before Caiaphas and the full Sanhedrin. And if the trial before Annas was unfair, what happens before Caiaphas is something else entirely. The Sanhedrin has gone out and gathered witnesses from around the city, people who are going to testify against Jesus and help build a case for his execution. But here's where something remarkable happens. These witnesses cannot get their stories straight. Their testimonies contradict each other. One says one thing, another says something completely different. And under the rules of Jewish law at the time, conflicting testimonies are supposed to invalidate the entire case. Every single person in that room can see clearly that the evidence against Jesus does not hold together. And yet the trial continues anyway. Because this was never really about evidence. It was never really about truth. It was about a decision that had already been made before Jesus ever walked into that room. Caiaphas then takes matters into his own hands. He stands up and asks Jesus directly, face to face, "Are you the Messiah?" And this is the moment that the leak scenes show us something truly extraordinary. Because Jesus does not hesitate. He does not soften his answer to protect himself. He does not try to find a diplomatic middle ground that might give him a way out. He looks directly at Caiaphas and he answers him with words that are both a declaration and a prophecy at the same time. He tells Caiaphas that from this point forward, Caiaphas will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven. In that one answer, Jesus is not just confirming who he is. He is telling his accusers that the roles are going to be reversed. That the one being judged right now is going to be the one sitting in ultimate authority and glory. And that truth, spoken so calmly and so directly in the middle of a room full of people who want him dead, is one of the most powerful things I have ever seen depicted on screen. The reaction from the Sanhedrin after Jesus speaks those words is immediate and explosive. Caiaphas tears his robes, which was the traditional expression of outrage at what he is calling blasphemy, and the entire council erupts. Because in their minds, Jesus has just said the most offensive and unacceptable thing possible. He is claimed to be the Son of God sitting at the right hand of the Almighty. And for the religious leaders of Israel, that claim is not just wrong in their eyes, it is punishable by death. So right there in that room, the decision is made. They declare that Jesus deserves to be executed. And with that single declaration, the road to the crucifixion is officially set in motion. Everything that follows from this point is no longer a question of if. It is only a question of when and how. And I want to pause here for a moment because this is something that I think is easy to miss when we read it in the Bible, but that The Chosen is going to make impossible to ignore. Every single person in that room who voted for Jesus' execution knew that the testimonies against him were contradictory. They knew the case had fallen apart. They knew that by any fair standard of judgment, there was no legitimate legal basis for what they were doing. And they did it anyway. The show is going to put us right inside that room and force us to sit with that reality in a way that reading words on a page simply cannot do. And that is what makes this season so uniquely powerful and so uniquely difficult to watch at the same time. Now, while all of this is happening inside the hall of the Sanhedrin, something is unfolding on the outside that is just as tragic in its own way. Judas Iscariot, who had been the one to betray Jesus into the hands of the chief priests for 30 pieces of silver, has been watching everything unfold. And in the leak scenes, we are going to witness the full collapse of Judas as a human being in real time. Because when Judas hears that the Sanhedrin has officially condemned Jesus to death, something inside him completely breaks. Whatever he thought was going to happen when he handed Jesus over, this was not it. And now he is standing there holding the full weight of what he has done with nowhere to put it, and no way to undo it. He goes back to the chief priests, and he tries to return the 30 pieces of silver. He stands in front of the very people he made his deal with, and he tells them openly, "I have sinned, for I have betrayed innocent blood." And the response he gets from them is one of the coldest and most chilling moments in the entire leaked footage. They essentially tell him that his guilt is his own problem, that they do not care, that the deal is done, and what he does with his conscience from here is none of their concern. They refuse to take the money back. And Judas, left completely alone with everything he has done, throws the silver into the temple and walks away. Luke Dimmy's portrayal of Judas in these scenes has already been described as absolutely heartbreaking by everyone who has seen the footage. And I genuinely cannot wait to see how he brings this to life fully on screen, because Judas is one of the most complex and tragic figures in this entire story, and this moment is the culmination of everything his character has been building toward.